Hi, I'm Charla with Freezer Meals 101.
And I'm Christy, and today we are in a different setting. We are not in our test kitchen. We are sitting, sipping tea, looking out the window in Charla's living room. Because today we're going to talk to you about new meals that we have been able to try so far in our mega session that we just had.
So if you haven't watched our most recent mega marathon, like our big 140 freezer meals plus one side dish.
Yes.
Then
That's right.
We're going to put a link right there and you can go check that out, because otherwise this video won't really make a whole lot of sense to you.
But if you just love the sound of our voices and want to hear us talk about some of our new recipes, you just stay tuned because we're going to dive right in.
There's that thing now where it's like spill the tea.
Oh, that's not new, but yeah, I know what you mean.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I'm like,
Do you have any tea? Oh, yeah.
I have tea. And so
we're
I
gonna
guess
spill
we're
the
gonna
tea.
spill the tea. But it's not really, it's not as exciting as all that.
My daughter will come home and she's like, I have tea. And I'm like, well, spill it. I'm in for spilling the tea. I think it's great.
So we're gonna spill the tea about our new meals. So
Yes.
we've had a chance. It's been about a week since we did since we finished our marathon. So we've had a chance to try some meals. We sometimes we like to also have our tried and true ones because we're sure, and we've been looking forward to having them sometimes.
That's true. And I was away on the weekend. I went to go visit my mom who lives in another city. So she's older, and so I took some meals with me to try out. Also, so she doesn't have to cook, and so I just can cook when we are there. And what's extra funny is while I was there, I made an old recipe that we've had for years. And I have a little bit of a story about it, but we can dive right in. Oh, I did take home the hammered up spaghetti home. I took to my mom's the hammered up spaghetti, but we just didn't quite get to it.
So neither of us have tried the hammered up spaghetti, and if you're one of the viewers that actually watched to the end of the marathon video, then you might know that there was a bit of a, I don't want to say incident, but there was a bit of drama surrounding
kerfuffle
about the hammered up spaghetti.
The whole thing has been a kerfuffle from the minute you emailed it to me. The whole thing has been a kerfuffle. But do you know what? When we do try it, we'll let you know. I will let you know.
Believe me,
You will hear me from my house. And we'll let you know, because what if it's a hit and
it might be worth all that hassle.
It was a hassle. Oh my goodness.
At least it was funny.
It was hilarious.
It was, oh my. We had my son helping, trying to stir the thing.
Oh my goodness.
And
it was heavy. She'd been stirring things for days and her arms were tired.
It was not easy, but it was hilarious. So we have not tried the hammered up spaghetti, but the first meal that I tried was actually the cashew chicken pan, because when we were putting it together, it just looked so good.
And the ingredients are fresh, and it looked flavorful and kind of exciting.
And it's easy because, you can make some rice up on the side, but really it's so easy. And I'm gonna admit something here. We had a little bit of green onions left over from our prep.
Oh.
And so it calls for like a sprinkling of green onions and sesame seeds on top. And I was thinking like, ooh, I still have those. So it's perfect.
You put it on.
So yeah.
Oh,
so
good.
I was able to sprinkle that.
Oh,
we
very
had some
fancy.
Black sesame seeds. Again, fancy from when we made our everything bagel seasoning. And so we had that sheet pan meal. And I can tell you, 100%.
It's a winner.
It's a winner.
It's going in the club.
It's going in the club. It's going everywhere. It was so good.
Do you think it could go in the air fryer?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have an air fryer, so I'm not an expert, but no. It was large.
Okay.
And so, yeah, my general feeling is it wouldn't. Yeah, you know what? I'm not
Well,
an air
I
fryer
have one.
expert,
I have an air fryer,
you
so
can
maybe I could try
yours.
it.
Everybody liked it except one of our daughters is allergic to nuts, which we've established because I accidentally almost poisoned her once with freezer meal. But
Butter chicken, cashews.
who knew? But this
Probably
time,
lots of people, but not us.
not us. I purposely, I knew that she wasn't eating at home that night. I planned it for that, but also she doesn't eat vegetables. So I know that, like, there's no way she's going to accidentally ingest it because it's
Right.
full of vegetables.
Right.
Plus, you can see the cashews very obviously in there. But I planned it for a night that she wasn't here. So everybody, every single person loved it.
Oh, good.
Definitely no leftovers on that one.
That's exciting. Last night we had everything bagel salmon,
Ooh.
which was amazing. So when I was making it, I was a little concerned about how to. We bagged it separately. We decided to do the salmon in one bag and then the cream cheese along with the everything bagel seasoning mixed together in a second bag. And I'm like, I don't know how this is going to spread on fish because it's wet. It's a little slippery. It's not slimy, but it was a little slippery. And so I laid my fish out on the tray like a baking sheet. And then I blotted it with paper towel, which I think is something a lot of people do anyway, especially if you want to get your seasonings to stick. And then I cut the tip off the corner of the bag and I squeezed it out. I like piped it onto the fish. And then I took just a butter knife and I kind of spread it. And I was right. It didn't spread nice, super easy. Like it balled up on me. Like it didn't want to stick to the fish. So I just kind of maneuvered it. And you can see in the video what it looks like. But then, and we had it with some rice. We had basmati. I told you we're on a basmati kick at our house. So I had it with white basmati rice. And I just did some frozen broccoli in the air fryer. I sprinkled some ranch on it. And
Fancy.
It was very nice. I could have used more. I didn't really taste the ranch in the broccoli, but it still tasted good. And so when we took it out of the oven, the salmon, you could see little crispy bits on the cream cheese where it had started to brown and I want to say formed a crust, but like it had dried out. And so I thought maybe it would melt and spread over it, but it didn't. It just stayed right on it. And it was delicious. Now, my daughter wasn't home, so she didn't have any. And my son said he would prefer it without the topping. He's picky. My husband and I loved it. So I would make it again, definitely. I'm pretty sure my daughter will like it because she's not as picky. And I would just leave one or two of the salmon pieces without so that my son could have it and enjoy it. And it was really good. We'll make that one again.
I'm really looking forward to having that one.
Yeah.
That's one like I could see us having when we've got company or something.
Oh yeah, it's fancy.
You know, it's fancy. So-
freezer meals are fancy. Sure they are. They can be.
So the opposite of fancy is that my family, when we were actually assembling the meals, my family all had this cold and I came down with it. So as soon as we finished, I think it's like my body knew
had to
I
get
had
through.
to get through these
Yeah, because you
meals.
powered through.
I powered through. I was starting to feel it on the last day, but I powered through.
And I haven't gotten sick.
Which is amazing because she spent so much time here.
And my kids did too. And your whole family was sick.
Like, so sick. And so actually, a lot of the other meals that we've tried are like very comfort foody. And so then we tried the lemon lentil soup because I was like, usually we make a lot of soups, and this time we
There really
didn't.
wasn't. It was just that one.
And so,
Oh, and the
And the
seafood
one that
Creole is kind of soupish.
but I can't have mine because of the celery.
I put celery in both of them because I had a brain fart, and I get to have both of the seafood Creoles, and I will let you know how
I'm
it
not
looks.
quite sure that it was a brain fart as much as
I was being greedy and selfish.
no, Christy's the opposite of those things. So it was just a brain
It was
fart.
an honest mistake, and as soon as I did it, I'm like, well, I guess I have two of these because we only made the two, just because it was.
It's a a new recipe.
It was a new recipe, and most of these were new recipes.
But it's one thing when you're trying a new recipe and the ingredients aren't that expensive.
But when you're dealing with crab and shrimp and scallops,
then you only make 2.
Yeah.
One for each of you, because what if you don't like it? You don't want to waste like a lot of money on a recipe you don't like, right?
Totally.
So so we were only left with like the soup that I invented at the end, and the lemon lentil soup. So I tried the lemon lentil soup, and like it was, I was about to say edible, but that's not giving it enough justice. It was good. My husband had, I think, thirds. So, like, definitely it was good. Several of the kids ate it.
Now, you had colds, too, so maybe your palate wasn't...
Like, I found it bland. And we, as a general rule, really, really like flavor here. We like a lot of spice. We like ethnic foods. We like flavor.
Punch.
Yeah. And so...
And lemon, it could be lovely, right?
Yes. It just... For me, it didn't quite have enough zip. But, you know, I did run the immersion blender through it and then add the lemon juice at the end. I did the things. It wasn't bad. Like, it was actually nice.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be good, I think, like, as a starter or as a side.
Yeah.
It just, here I am. Christy's the one that's usually like, soup is not a full meal. And here I am saying this soup was not a full meal. To me, it needed, like, it would have been a good starter.
Okay.
So it wasn't hearty enough or flavorful enough to be its own meal, but it's definitely got potential. Like, it's...
Are you willing to try it again if we modify it or if we zip it up somehow? Like,
yes,
have you identified what was missing?
I think that other people might really like it. Like, I'm interested to hear how you like it, because I think that people who have, like, who like blander food, I don't know how to say that nicely, but, you know, I think they might like
something
it.
more milder tasting.
Yeah.
Mild.
Right, mild.
I don't know.
And so it has potential.
Okay.
It's not like a definite no. It's not a definite yes.
Is it something you would want to put, like, your chili flakes on?
No, and that's the thing. It was like the flavors, because it's like the lemon.
Did it have lemon pepper in it?
No.
I wonder if that would help.
It might. It's like I couldn't really put hot sauce in it because that would be wrong, and I couldn't put the red pepper flakes. Like, it just didn't, you know. So I feel like maybe if we could figure out
or more lemon
spice that would like maybe dill. Oh.
Yeah.
Great minds.
Yeah.
So
we're good at this. We'll work on this.
So the next one that we tried that was, again, sort of in line with that comfort food, you know, whatever, is the chunky bolognese. Because, you know, pasta for us is always comfort food.
For sure.
And it's easy. And I figured that everybody would like it. And they did. Like,
we don't need to change anything.
So for the bolognese, we just served it on spaghetti. Or fettuccine, actually. Ooh, look at me, branching out. So we had it on fettuccine, and of course, you know, some Parmesan and red pepper flakes, because you have to. But I think, you know, the addition of the zucchini in there was nice, and it had the bacon and the beef, in our case, the fake beef. So it was a nice one. Like, again, it's not, you couldn't taste the bacon all that much.
Right.
Although, again, I have a cold, so.
Sure. And, okay, so then maybe we put more bacon in? That's never a bad thing. One of the meals I took up to my mom's place was the ground chicken stroganoff, and it was a good one to have because it was a really thin package. It was fast to defrost because when we go, it was just my daughter and I that went, and we're helping my mom. She's at an age in life where it's maybe time to make another move, and so we're sorting through things in her basement after collecting for 50 or 60 years. And some treasures. So my brother and his wife came, and now I'm like, okay, we can have one of these meals and it will be enough for everybody. And it was the perfect amount. I threw a salad together, and I had taken a package of egg noodles with me, and we had the ground chicken stroganoff, and I just fried it up easily. It was really good. I thought about the ground beef stroganoff because that really is our number one. Honestly, we make it so much. We love it. It's a winner. Everybody seems to love it. And part of what I like about the ground beef stroganoff is at the very end, you plop in a couple of big fat tablespoons of sour cream to give it a bit of zip. And my mom didn't happen to have any, because I thought about it for the ground chicken, partly to make it creamier, partly to give it the zip, partly to stretch it a little bit more, because we had 5 grown adults eating this, and it was our first time. I wasn't sure how far it would go. And she didn't have any sour cream, but she had whipping cream. And I'm like, well, 2 to 3 ain't bad. So I dribbled in some whipping cream, certainly not a half cup or anything. It was just a couple of tablespoons. And so to me, they were very complimentary about it. And I told them, I need feedback. This is a new one. This is a freezer meal. You have to tell me. And because I have served to them some duds before. And some
winners.
And they don't mind being guinea pigs, which I appreciate. And they were all very complimentary about it. And to me, I would give it like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. I think the texture is finer, I think a little bit, than the ground beef stroganoff, and maybe a bit drier. Wasn't flavor. Flavor was good. For me, it was maybe a texture thing that it just wasn't exciting for me.
I wonder what the rating would be if in your brain you weren't comparing it to the ground beef stroganoff.
This is true. They did like it.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be hard for me to try that one too, honestly, because we are just so sold.
And we have a beef stroganoff with the strips that's pretty good, but not as good as the ground beef.
Yeah, it's hard to live up to that one, right?
It is so good. So I will wait till you try it. We have another one to try. We have 2 each.
And we'll try the real sour cream.
And I'll add the sour cream and see if that's something that we should do. And so for me, I'm willing to try again. It was just kind of
underwhelming.
I was underwhelmed. It was okay. I don't know what it needs. I don't know. And then the very first one we tried, we've both been able to try on the day of freezer meals. We go to 6 or 7 o'clock if we need to. And so my family is sitting at my house while I'm over here cooking, and they have no food. So I just made a chili casserole at her house.
Stuck it in my
oven.
And threw it in the oven. Assembling.
And then called my family and said, you have to come over here to eat, which they did. And we all ate it and we all enjoyed it. I think my husband would want to add a little more garlic in.
There was no garlic in the recipe.
There's no garlic in the recipe.
We should add garlic into...
We could tell him what he did. It was so funny.
Yeah.
It was really bizarre. You tell him, because I'm used to him.
He passed by our big, giant...
Costco...
garlic.
Minced garlic.
And it has a spoon in it, because we just keep the spoon in there all day to add into the recipes. And he just went like this and giant spoonfuls and added it onto his bowl.
3 spoonfuls.
And I was thinking... okay, that's going to be inedible, first of all. And, this must be a joke. What?
He's a funny guy. A weird sense of humor.
Right. And
nice
so
guy, weird humor.
And I know him well, so I figured it was a joke. But, no, he ate it. And then he did that to his second bowl. So the fact that he had a second bowl shows that he liked it.
Yep.
Really liked it.
Yep, we liked it.
And our family really liked it. It felt to me like it's really homey.
It's very homey. My comment initially, and we've talked about it since, was if it's chili casserole, shouldn't it be more chili-like? But that isn't the intention. It's just chili flavored, with the chili pepper. So I'm like, shouldn't it have kidney beans in it or something? And you were like, no. But the corn, you guys talked about potentially adding corn, and it was there was a mixed feelings about that.
When I was putting together this recipe for us to make into a freezer meal, I looked at it and actually wrote in my notes, like, maybe this should have corn. And I'm not totally sure. I mean, we should probably try it with corn, and we have tried it without, and we'll kind of see. But when my family was eating it, I said to one of my sons, like, I was thinking about adding corn, and he was like, oh yeah, that would add, like, you know, a different texture. And I was like, it'll add another vegetable, because I'm a mom, so you know, more vegetables is good. And so he was like, yeah, that would be
the crunch, right?
Really good. Yeah. My husband, I said, you know, I was thinking about adding corn, and he was like, I think actually celery, and which is funny because we never have celery in anything ever. We've been married forever, so he's used to not having celery. But he was kind of thinking of the crunch factor, which after it baked in there for an hour, celery wouldn't be crunchy.
It wouldn't be crunchy anyway.
But so I'm not. But this recipe is a keeper. Like, don't get us wrong.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to figure out how to tweak it and make it even better, because that's what we do.
It is.
So we're definitely going to add garlic to it, and we're looking to make it better, but it is definitely a keeper. Like, it's going to be club worthy and all the things. Oh, yeah.
And it's simple and it's homey.
And
it's not spicy.
No, it's just family
We
friendly.
talked about this a lot lately with the chili chicken.
Yeah.
Again, chili flavored, but not spicy at all. So if you've ever looked at that recipe and thought, not for me, give it a try. It's not as spicy as you think.
Totally. And this was
not spicy,
very kid friendly, family friendly, and the rice does
might add a bit
cook
of garlic
up in there.
The rice does cook up. That was my biggest concern.
Yes.
Growing up, my mom would make shipwreck, which is a ground beef, basically like a meatloaf, not as put together as a meatloaf. It's kind of like a pad of ground beef. And then your tomato sauce and your onions. It's all layered, right? And one of the layers in there is rice. And I always felt like the rice never really cooked through. So I was skeptical.
Yeah.
The rice cooked through. It was great.
Yeah, rice cooked through for me too.
And it was regular long grain rice. Mm-hmm. It was not basmati. My husband didn't know.
He didn't seem to notice or care.
He was so full of garlic, he didn't notice. Yeah, so it was a winner. We would do that again.
And then the last one that our family tried from these new recipes is the one pot creamy sausage rigatoni. I was really excited to try this, and it did live up to my expectations. It's definitely it's a restaurant quality meal. Like, the flavors are there. The flavor is amazing. It's it would be something you would be proud to serve to guests, and it's very, very good. But haven't quite figured out, and we knew this would be a thing because whenever we do the one pots, we do have a little bit of tweaking to do before we figure out the
right ratios
for the noodles. So with the rigatoni, because I have a large family, it kind of called for 2 cups of rigatoni, and I was like, that is not going to feed our family. So then I thought,
and rigatoni takes up a lot of space. Like, it's like the penne, but it's bigger around, and they're large. So 2 cups, that's
barely any.
Yeah. 2 cups of macaroni and 2 cups of rigatoni are very different.
Very different. Yeah. So I was like, no way. So I did 4 cups, but then there wasn't enough liquid for it to really cook up well, and so then I had to add a little bit of water.
Can I give you a tip we've talked about this recently a couple of times, and I've been meaning to say this. If you have to add water to a noodle, like spaghetti, or you didn't put enough water in to begin with, it should be boiling water.
Oh, and I did add boiling water.
Okay, good. You knew. Not everybody knows. And you don't want to put cold water in on top because it'll stop cooking and it takes a while to come back to temperature and boil again that the spaghetti or the pasta needs, and you will end up with mushy pasta before you know it. So you have to add boiling water.
Yeah, I did add boiling water. Good job. But so then, my ratios were kind of right, but then I diluted the flavors.
Right.
So I'm thinking either we add more liquid into the bag next time we make it, and then we can do the full 4 cups, or because we have 3 bags left between the 2 of us, we're going to experiment with this one. And so we're going to try 3 cups of rigatoni with this exact amount of, you know,
liquid that's in there, and see if that works. Now, another way to measure your pasta, which I'm starting to do a little bit more, it's to weigh it. And then you know. So you weigh it by ounces, and sometimes by pounds. Like, it depends on what you're cooking and how many you're cooking for. And so it'll be a little bit more exact, and that will also help reduce that error that happens between 2 cups of macaroni and 2 cups of rigatoni, right? You would want to weigh it and be more accurate. So by the time it gets to the club, because it sounds like this is going to be club worthy.
Oh, it's definitely club worthy.
We'll have
flavors.
We'll have that worked out so that there will be no question of how many cups. It will be in ounces or in grams, and you can be exact, or you can wing it. We don't care what you do with the recipe after we put it out there.
Right. But we like to get it to be,
we want you to have some consistency every time you make it, right?
So we're also kind of, today, as we're telling you, which meals we enjoyed and which we've tried and whatever, we're also giving you a little bit of like behind the curtain about what goes on as far as like us making sure that the recipes are worthy of being in the club, are worthy of you trying them. We don't take this lightly. Like,
no.
We're always looking to make things better and to make it just right,
It's true, and we do put a lot of thought into it, and really we're picky about different things.
Yes.
Which turns out to be our advantage.
Definitely, because and between the two of us, there's a lot of people eating these meals, like between our families. And so that's an advantage too, because
it's every taste.
Yes.
Yes, and you'll notice in a lot of the recipes, like, our family doesn't have things as spicy as her family. So there's, so you pick the mild Italian sausage instead of the spicy Italian sausage. When we make, what is the one the pork that has the adobo peppers?
Oh, yeah, the Dr. Pepper pulled pork. That's so good. Yeah.
But I pull most of my peppers out even before I make it, or I'll pull them out before I serve it, because it will be too spicy for us, whereas you would eat the peppers.
Yeah, we shred the peppers up when we're shredding the pork. Like, we have it all.
That reminds me, I said there was an old one that I made when I was visiting my mom. She had 3 chicken breasts, and again, there was 5 of us to eat, and how do I stretch that, right? So I went to the store and I got some barbecue sauce and some apple cider vinegar, and she had an onion, and I just made barbecue shredded chicken. We make it all the time. It's so good. And I was at the store and I phoned her and I said, "Mom, do you have a slow cooker anymore?" And she said, "No, I haven't had one for years." And I'm like, okay. So I thought, how am I going to slow cook this chicken so that it's shreddable? Because it's, it was chicken breasts. I could cook them for 20 minutes and you could cut them, but they wouldn't shred nicely. And so I put them in a covered casserole dish. My goodness, my mom has some beautiful dishes. It was so nice. So I put it in a covered casserole dish, and I put it low at like 325. I could have probably gone 300. And I left it for about an hour and 45 minutes. I took it out and I tested it. It was perfect. It was juicy. It shredded so nicely. I just used 2 forks. There was only a couple there, only a couple of breasts there. So it was easy to do. I put it back in the sauce, gave it another 15 minutes so that it could soak in.
Yeah.
And then we ate it, and I had made a coleslaw, and I had picked up some hamburger buns, and we just had a good old pulled chicken sandwich. And they were messy and delicious, and there was even leftovers. So those 3 chicken breasts, I could stretch to 5 people, plus there was leftovers, and it was a hit.
That recipe is just always a winner.
Yeah.
I love that one. Your family got sick of it for a while.
My home family, yes. My husband, he just kind of...
We made it so often.
We made it so often, and I think we were doing the pulled pork at the same time, and we had just kind of gone through a phase where there was a lot of pulled meat products, and he's like, "Could we stop with the pulled meat? Like, I'm done with that." And And so, and what's even funnier is somebody had asked on a YouTube video, are all of these for slow cookers? Like, they were new and they hadn't seen a lot of our videos. And so I said, yeah, a lot of them are, but a lot of them aren't. I'm not in love with my slow cooker. I find it overcooks things, or I'm just fine to do it in the oven. And I specifically said, for the shredded chicken, to shred it, you're going to want to do it in the slow cooker. And then I came back and I responded to her like 2 weeks later, and I'm like, oh yeah, that lady. And I went back and I talked to her and I said, I just did this. I was able to do it in the oven and it worked beautifully. There are ways around, you don't need a slow cooker to do some of these things. They didn't have a slow cooker 100 years ago, and they still know how to cook a roast.
So another one that is not new, but is fairly new, is the ground chicken tacos.
Yeah.
And I told you when I was making those that I was setting a little bit of that aside to put on my nachos for that night. And I was serious. And I had them, and they were the most delicious nachos I have ever had. Now, part of that is because we had worked so hard for 2 days and been on our feet for 2 days.
And nachos are a total comfort food for you.
Nachos are the ultimate for me. And I earned those nachos.
Yeah.
Like, oh my. And so part of it was that, but, and I am now doing this thing that my brother and his wife taught me of, like, putting dill pickles on my nachos.
No. You?
Totally. And so along with my jalapenos and my red peppers and my tomatoes and my onions, and I had 2 kinds of onions. I had green onions because we had some left over from the prep, and I had white onions, and then I had the ground chicken taco meat, and of course the cheese, right? And I used this habanero cheese blend that I love. So good. And then you had the ground chicken tacos as like...
I had it as a nacho as well. I took it out. My cupboard was bare. My fridge, I didn't have any leftovers. And I was home by myself, and I thought that will cook up pretty fast. And so really what I did was I took the freezer meal out because it's already cooked. I mean, the chicken's been browned.
Yeah.
I took the freezer meal out and I just used a little bit, and I fried it up in the pan. I had some leftover tomatoes and leftover chopped jalapenos. The tomatoes were not in good shape, but the jalapenos were still okay. So I added those in, and I still had some baby grape tomatoes. And so I chopped those up really and sliced them.
I live like 2 doors down, and I always have tomatoes. Right?
She always has tomatoes. She
up.
Almost always has jalapenos. She almost always has avocados.
That's true.
It's too funny.
Oh, I did have guacamole with my nachos.
Oh, good.
Anyway.
I have some avocado at home right now, but I didn't put it on. And so I fried I put the tomatoes and the jalapenos right in when I was frying the chicken.
Okay.
And
that's different.
A little. And and I added in a bit of water, so like you would with taco seasoning, so that it coated everything and it made like saucy. And then I put it on my nachos just on a plate. Like I didn't have the whole
tray. Yeah.
It's a system. You should show people how you make nachos sometime. It's funny. It's great. It's great. She's particular, and that's okay.
I am, every chip has exactly the same as every other chip.
And then I had a little...
So no chips are jealous.
No. And I even had taco crumbs that you probably wouldn't have made the cut for yours.
No.
And it was just on a plate, and I had a little tiny bit of cheddar, and so I used a smaller blade shredder, and I shredded it, and it still didn't look quite like enough, and so you're gonna gag. I had a couple of tablespoons of queso, which you can't eat anyway because it's processed, but I drizzled some queso, and hot dang was that good. It's not even close to what she makes, and it was still pretty delicious.
I'm so happy for you that you don't invite me over if you ever do.
I would not make that for you.
No, of course not.
Last night we were coming home from we went to a dinner theater that isn't, the food's okay. The food's good, and the entertainment is great, and it's funny, and we had a nice time. We went out for my father-in-law's birthday, and my sister-in-law actually, They have happy birthday, same day. And on the way home, my daughter was asking me, she goes, oh, Charlotte would love this. And I'm like, funny enough, Charlotte doesn't. And you did come, you had barely met. When we were first friends, you came to my husband's birthday there. And then a couple of years later, you got invited again and you were kind of like, oh, I don't want to go. I don't like it. And I'm like, really?
I think I would like this one because of the theme, though.
The theme. You would put up with the food.
Yeah.
So, and I said to my daughter, I'm like, she plans her holidays around where she can eat. Like, if there's no good restaurants in that area, they will go to a different area.
Food
if she goes
life.
to town and has to eat in town, she is like, I'm so excited to go to this restaurant and to do this and her whole life is planned around food. And so I can slum it with queso and
I saw this commercial
and crushed up taco chips. It doesn't bother me.
And it was like saying you have X amount of meals in your life, and the first however many are decided for you. Because, like, you know, thinking about my grandson in his high chair, like, he doesn't get to pick whether he's having beets today or squash, like, you know.
Right.
And so, you know, the first however many are decided for you, and then the last, you know, like if you're a senior in a senior's nursing home, like
lunch is what lunch is.
Choose, yes. And so they're like, so that leaves you with X amount of meals. And that has stuck with me. I'm like, every time that you're just like, you know, you can't really have a real meal. And so you're just having, like, I don't know, popcorn for supper or whatever, which I do sometimes. But it's like I'm wasting one of those, like, and it was only a couple thousand meals. Like, it wasn't that many.
Right.
And so it stuck with me.
I don't know what's better, to be like you, where you care so deeply, or to be like me, where it doesn't really matter that much. Before we started filming today, there's a little, on her coffee table behind you that you can't see, there's some sweet tarts, and they're all blue. And I'm like, why are there blue sweet tarts there? Because she doesn't like them, because they taste different than the other sweet tarts, and they're her least favorite. And so,
in order, green, red, purple, yellow, blue.
And I said, they don't all taste the same? Are you kidding me? They have different flavors? And she's like, no, they have different flavors. And so who's happier?
I don't know, because, like, I can't eat the blue sweet tarts, which the rest of my family is fine with that because they get blue sweet tarts whenever.
So you can't, or you just dislike them enough it's not worth it to you?
I dislike it enough that it's not, like, I would never eat calories for calories' sake. Like, you know, like
and because I don't taste a difference,
you'd eat the blue sweet tarts.
Sure, because they're just sugar.
So probably you're happier.
I'm easier to please.
Definitely. I'm a little higher maintenance.
But I say this all the time in our videos. We are glad for somebody like Charla, because you know that food is going to taste good in your freezer.
Right.
If it made it into the club,
yes,
it's good. So these
Although,
are tested.
There's some, like, for me, like that homey chili casserole. Like, I see the merit in meals like that, but that wouldn't be what I would pick. So meals like that are in the club because they're good enough and they serve a purpose, because
and there are some in there. And somebody had commented that one time of, hey, I made this, and I forget what it was. I want to say it was like something that had hash browns in it, and they're like, is that it? Like, and we're like, yeah, it's, you know, it's family friendly. It is maybe a little bit more on the plain side, but try it again and see if you want to zip it up with anything. You totally can.
And there's a place
because
for
there's
those
something for
plainer
everybody.
recipes.
Sure, there is.
And some people need to eat that way or choose to eat that way, and lots of kids, I mean, obviously, are only going to eat that way.
Yeah.
And so, because there's a place for that, we're going to have those homier, family-friendly recipes.
Yeah.
So,
but we're also going to have cashew chicken.
Yes, and everything bagel salmon. Like,
oh yeah,
you know, we're going to have those elevated freezer meals. Who knew you could have elevated freezer meals?
We knew, because we've been doing it for years.
We knew.
So is that everything? Did we make everything on our list? I think so.
That is everything that we have tried so far. We're going to continue to try the meals, and
We'll do this again. This was nice.
this is kind of fun.
This is nice to sit
It's very
and
relaxing.
have tea with you.
So,
And I don't know.
we're gonna hop off, and I'm gonna hear more about the dinner theater last night and all those things. We're gonna have like our regular chat, but thank you for joining us today, and thank you for hearing our reviews.
Yes, and ask us if you have questions below. If there was something that you saw in the Mega Meal session that you're like, I need to know how that went.
Yeah.
Please pop it down in there, and we'll be sure to try it sooner than later so that we can let you know. We can get back to you.
And if anything, you know that we're always honest.
This is true.
About our thoughts on things. We're not going to tell you something was a hit if it wasn't.
That's true. That's true. So thank you, and we will see you next time.